Hi, so today I would like to talk about the FNAF 2 movie, my thoughts about it, and I'm just going to be drawing while I think, so just grab your sketchbook and your trusty dusty pen or pencil and let's get started. Okay, so in the movie there is this scene that results in the puppet carrying the dead body of Charlotte Emily. And that scene reminded me a lot of this Crisis on Infinite Earths cover, this really iconic one that has Superman crying while holding a dead Supergirl. Let's see. Okay, there you can see it better. Like the pose is very similar. The crying, the tears matches like the mask on the puppet, and so I thought that while I was talking I would try to sort of like recreate this cover but with the puppet holding Charlotte, and then I guess the characters in the background would be like different animatronics or something. I don't know how it'll turn out. It's not going to be in color, it's just going to be the sketch, probably. We'll find out. But yeah, let's see how that goes. Okay, please ignore all the water on my desk. I decided to make myself some hard-boiled eggs real quick before I started actually sketching this out, but okay. Here, the puppet's body. So I know this wasn't like a classically good movie, like objectively it was probably a pretty bad movie in terms of like writing and stuff like that, but I thought it was fantastic as a lifelong FNAF fan. I do have a bit of a controversial theory about Vanessa though that came as a result of this movie, and that controversial theory is, what if Vanessa, much like Charlie in the original book trilogy, was a robot? And I know that people hate the like when human characters are robots in this series. I personally am fine with that. I don't really see a problem with when characters are robots. Myself, I don't think it really causes a whole lot of issues with like my enjoyment of the franchise or anything like that. But hear me out, hear me out. I think there is some good evidence for it. So what I was thinking, all this kind of just like hinges on one specific scene from the movie. That specific scene being when like in Vanessa's dream, when her father, oh yeah, spoilers for the movie by the way, just in case y'all got this far in the video and still didn't want spoilers or anything like that, but so this entire theory hinges on one specific scene from the movie, that scene being Vanessa's dream sequence scene, where her father is chasing her throughout the house. William Afton's chasing her and she ends up in a workshop type space, and she hides in my mind what looks to be like a closet area in the workshop, and she looks and she sees Circus Baby, and Circus Baby's eyes glow, but it doesn't seem like the normal animatronic glowing eyes. Instead, it gives off the vibes of like our eyes are supposed to be like, we're supposed to be notice the fact that her eyes are green, and Circus Baby having green eyes is significant because for those that don't know, her green eyes means that she is possessed. And in the games, we see this through a mini game in Sister Location. In this mini game, we give Elizabeth ice cream, and Circus Baby has blue eyes throughout the entirety of this, but the 8-bit version, the sprite for Elizabeth, has green eyes. And Circus Baby gets her green eyes after she gets possessed by Elizabeth, which poses a couple of different problems for us. In the movies, since our eyes are drawn to the fact that Circus Baby has green eyes, one of these problems being that how can Circus Baby be possessed by Elizabeth when Vanessa is our Elizabeth stand-in? And so there are a couple different avenues that we can go down for this. One of those avenues being that somehow it was Vanessa that died and like possessed Circus Baby, was killed by Circus Baby as a child, because she is our Elizabeth Afton stand-in. But then how did she die as a child? Well, not even that. How is she here when she died as a child? So she's probably a robot. The other option is Vanessa had a second secret sibling next to Michael Afton as well, that she never told us about. And it makes sense why we were never told about Michael Afton. Like, it didn't seem important to be brought up. It was a part of her life she wanted to like shun away, especially because she wanted no connections with her father at this point. Like, it makes sense she wouldn't bring up her brother Michael. But having a second sibling, Elizabeth, who died as a child, to the animatronics, that feels like something she probably would have brought up in like the first movie if she did. So that seems less likely, or at least poses a couple problems for the narrative if that is true. But beyond just like this stuff happens in the scenes, a lot of this reminds me of Charlie, Emily in the book universe. And what I mean by that is we find out in specifically the Fourth Closet, which is the third book in the original trilogy, that Charlie, the Charlie that we've been following around, is actually a robot, and that the real Charlotte had died as a child instead of her brother Sammy, which Charlie remembered it being her brother Sammy that was one that was kidnapped by Will, but it turns out, nope, that was not the case. She was the one that died, not her twin. And so Henry kind of just like went mad with grief, and he created this like four different animatronics to replace his dead daughter Charlie, to sort of like mimic her growing up. There was one for like when she was a child, probably around the age when she died, another like sort of like preteen Charlie, the third one was teenage Charlie, which was the Charlie that we were following around, and then the fourth Charlie was adult Charlie, and adult Charlie was like the body for that was taken by William Afton and repurposed into Circus Baby, and then all the stuff with Circus Baby killing Elizabeth Afton still happened in the book universe. And all of these animatronics, they were all kept inside of different closets, which is why it's called the Fourth Closet. What that indicates to me is that Vanessa finding herself in a closet type space and then Circus Baby being in there sort of like implies that there is a significance to Circus Baby in like that closet type space, which continues like the connection with the Fourth Closet and the fact that that Circus Baby was the fourth adult form for Charlie, the robot Charlie. Like, to me it just kind of makes sense, and it's in line with the sort of like way the movies are like taking concepts from both the games and the books and sort of just like flipping them on their head. And it's still like the same basic concepts, but all of it is completely been reworked and reimagined to fit within the context of the movie continuity. for example, Michael Schmidt, why I say Mike Schmidt? Mike Schmidt, he's kind of like taking on a game Michael Afton type role in the movies, while the Michael Afton that we see in the second movie that we get introduced to, he's taking on more of like a Vanny role, following in his father's footsteps and wanting to continue his legacy. Or how, I don't know, it's just like, it fits in line with the way that the movies are being written, that William Afton would have attributes that in the books were attributed to Henry, such as recreating his dead daughter in robot form. And it would make sense that Vanessa wouldn't have ever brought up the idea that she was a robot, because the robot Charlie in the book, she is so realistic. Like, she bleeds, she cries, like, she herself fully believes she's human, and everyone else around her believes that she is human as well. Like, there is no question in anyone's mind whether or not she was human, or any indication that she was ever a robot. She herself didn't even know that she was a robot, so Vanessa wouldn't know that she was a robot at all. And like, in the scene with the workshop, William kept saying, like, I own you, I made you. Maybe I made you was like in a more like literal sense than just he's her father. And so I don't know, it's just in line with how these movies have been written, if that makes sense. But like, I loved the movie. I thought it was a fantastic movie, personally. I especially loved Freddy Carter as Michael Afton in this movie. I don't know, I love Michael Afton as like a villainous character, and I feel like Michael Afton will probably end up getting a sort of like redemption role of some kind in this franchise. I don't know, it just seems in character for him. Like, it's very fitting that, like, as a kid or something, he would idolize his father, the one that like everyone like compared him to and thought he was so much like. And then eventually he would sort of like go through some sort of like horrific event or something that would cause him to no longer idolize his father as much or something. And then as a result of that, I mean, there's also the idea that maybe he's possessed by Ennard by this point, but there's still that implication that he did idolize his father before, like, the Ennard takeover within the movie universe, because Vanessa, who had known Michael all of his life, and all of her life probably, like, was not surprised by any of Michael's actions, and she didn't want to be anything like him or anything like that. Oh, I just thought it was a fantastic movie overall. I especially loved that Skeet Ulrich was in this movie. Skeet Ulrich is like one of my favorite actors of all time. I am so obsessed with him as Billy Loomis in Scream. And so just having him and Matthew Lillard reprise like roles as like partners with each other, just like, it's just kind of everything that I would have ever wanted as a Skeet Ulrich fan, and as a Scream fan, and as a Matthew Lillard fan. Just like, well, when I saw him on screen as Henry Emily, I literally just kept doing like heart hands like over top of his face, just like shaking my hands and just being like really obsessed about it. Like, genuinely, my comfort characters are Billy Loomis and Stu Macher. Like, they got me through some of probably like some of the worst times in my life, genuinely, unironically. But like, yeah, it's just so freaking good. Oh my goodness. And I hope we get to see more of Skeet Ulrich as Henry Emily, because I just want to see more of like their relationship dynamic between William Afton and Henry Emily, which I think Matthew Lillard already like confirmed that they wanted to flesh that out just a little bit more, focus a bit more on the relationship between the two characters. He said that he was really excited for that, so I hope we get to see more of that in future installments. I know that there's like plans to be at least one more movie, although they kind of set up for like 2 to 3 more movies after this movie in just this one movie. Because they set up for like both a like Fazbear's Frights themed type thing in the end credits scene, with like the whole like we found one, a real one, and then going to Springtrap. But then they also kind of set up for like a sister location movie with the circus baby that I was talking about earlier. And we might even get like a FNAF 4 style movie, possibly, although I don't know how a FNAF 4 style movie would go without a crying child, unless there is a crying child equivalent in this universe. But like, I don't know, I always kind of just like put Garrett from the first movie into the role of the crying child, so I don't know. Anyways, this is my sort of like concept idea for like, it would be like Crisis at Freddy Fazbear's or something, title in progress. If I were to like do like a full comic book page of this, much like how like the background of the actual Crisis on Infinite Earth cover, I would probably like add in like various characters from Five Nights at Freddy's in the background. I'd probably keep it purple because that would be fitting thematically. It would work a lot better for the most part for this sort of thing. I'd probably just put like the animatronics in the background and a young Vanessa. There's like a Supergirl variant of that cover that's like one version of Supergirl holding another version of Supergirl, where in between the legs you can see one Superman like face palming himself. And so there could be like a parent, like random parent in the background like face palming themselves, because the parents just kind of like didn't care, but there'd be like people all throughout here standing on like floating rocks and all that stuff. It would be like going like this behind them. You'd probably see like parents and stuff. The floor would probably go like this. If I do decide to color this in digitally, then the color will appear here. But anyways, thank you for watching, and thank you for listening to me ramble on about the second Five Nights at Freddy's movie.